A deep silence covered the old desert station as the twin suns dropped behind the rocks. The wind blew weak dust across the metal walls, and the whole place looked forgotten by time itself. In the middle of this broken station stood a huge circular pit. Inside it lay something that did not move, did not roar, and did not even breathe loud enough to hear. It looked like a giant statue made of cracked scales and faded colors. But it was no statue. It was a dragon. Not a human dragon but an old alien one, once feared across the galaxy. Its wings were folded like dead branches, and its tail was covered in dry sand. Its mouth stayed half open, showing teeth that once glowed with heat but now looked dull and tired. No one knew how long it had been there. No one cared. The desert had eaten the truth long ago. One evening, a small transport ship landed near the station. The ship shook from its rough engines and dust swirled around it in thick waves. A young human mechanic named Rowan stepped out. He was not a soldier or a hero. He was only a simple repair worker who went from place to place fixing old machines. His backpack held tools, wires, and a small water canister. That was all he carried. Rowan looked at the station with confusion. He had been sent to repair a broken power core somewhere inside, but the place looked far more damaged than the report said. The roof had holes. The ground had deep cracks. Machines lay scattered like trash from a storm. He walked slowly, switching on his scanner. As he moved toward the center, he stopped. At first he thought he was looking at a giant piece of rusted equipment. But then his scanner beeped again and again. There was life inside. Rowan stepped closer, and the dust moved enough for him to finally see the massive shape resting in the pit. He froze. His heart jumped. He had read stories about these creatures, dragons from another world, full of energy and fire. They were powerful, dangerous, and almost always kept locked away by ancient alien laws. But this one was not dangerous. This one looked almost silent. Rowan's first instinct was to step back. Easy, he whispered to himself, even though the creature seemed half dead. He walked a little to the left, watching carefully. The dragon did not lift its head. It did not snarl. Not even a tail flick. Its eyes were closed, but the scanner still showed tiny signs of life. Weak, slower than normal, but still real. He moved closer until he stood at the edge of the pit. He wiped dust off his goggles and leaned forward. The closer he looked, the more he saw how dry the dragon truly was. Its scales were cracked like old stone. His tongue lay limp, gray and dry. Its throat looked like it had not felt water for years. Rowan felt something heavy in his chest. "How long has it been like this?" he whispered. Then, something unexpected happened. He heard a sound. A soft, dry rumble, barely a breath, but enough to echo weakly through the pit. Rowan stepped back in shock. He looked around, thinking the wind was playing tricks. But then the sound came again, softer this time. It was coming from the dragon's throat, like a tiny plea hidden under centuries of silence. Rowan did not know why, but he felt a strange pull in his heart. The creature was not evil. It was not a monster. It was suffering. Forgotten. Alone. He took out his flashlight and shined it across the pit. He found old metal pipes, broken tanks, and cracked feeding systems. Everything was dry. Everything had been dry for a long, long time. "No water," he said softly. "You haven't had water in forever, have you?" The dragon did not respond with words or growls. It only made the same weak rumble once more, as if it was trying to ask for something but no longer had the strength. Rowan knelt down and placed a hand on the edge of the pit. He did not know the creature. He did not know its story. But something in his heart refused to walk away. He reached for the small water canister on his belt. It was barely half full. It was supposed to last him 2 days. But when he looked again at the dragon, he knew what he had to do. He held the canister tight. He made a quiet promise to himself. If he could fix machines, maybe he could fix this too. Even if it was only a little. Even if it was just one drink. And for the first time in a century, something inside the silent dragon sensed a change, like a tiny spark of hope waking slowly in the dust. Rowan stood at the edge of the pit for a long moment, staring at the cracked scales and dry mouth of the ancient dragon. The desert wind pushed dust across his boots, but he did not move. He held his small water canister tightly, feeling how light it was. It was not enough for a creature this big. Not even close. But he also knew the dragon had gone far too long without a single drop. He opened the cap slowly. The soft click echoed faintly in the empty station. The dragon did not raise its head, but Rowan noticed the faintest twitch of its ear, like it sensed something new in the air. Rowan knelt down and climbed carefully into the pit. Every step felt heavy and nervous. He had never been this close to a creature so large. Its body stretched wider than a ship wing, and its tail was longer than a transport shuttle. But right now none of that mattered. What mattered was the deep dryness in the air around it. When he reached its head, the dragon's eyes were still closed, but he could hear its breathing, dry, thin, almost like old paper rubbing together. "Hey," Rowan whispered softly. "I brought something." The dragon's jaw moved a little. Dust fell from its scales like ancient sand being shaken free. Rowan held the canister close to its mouth. His hands trembled. He did not know if the dragon could even drink like this. He did not know if it would wake up angry or confused. But he tilted the canister slowly and let a thin line of water slip down. The drop hit the dragon's tongue. What happened next made Rowan gasp. The tongue twitched, hard. The dragon's mouth opened just a little wider. A sound came out, not loud, but filled with such deep longing that Rowan knew instantly what it meant. It was thirst. Pure, painful thirst. Rowan poured more water, and the creature's throat moved as it swallowed. The dragon's eyes opened just a tiny bit, two dim, dull glows staring up at the human kneeling beside it. For a moment Rowan froze. But those eyes did not hold anger or danger. They held something else. Relief. Rowan let out a slow breath. "It's okay," he said quietly. "I'm not here to hurt you." He emptied the last drops into its mouth. The dragon swallowed them slowly as if trying to pull every bit of moisture into its body. When the water was gone, Rowan looked at the empty canister and sighed. "I need more," he whispered. "A lot more." He stepped back and studied the pit. There were old water tanks nearby, cracked and broken. Maybe one could be fixed. Maybe one still had something left. He hurried to the closest machine and brushed dust off its panel. The glass was shattered and wires were hanging out like dry vines. Rowan placed his hands on it. "Well," he muttered, "you're in bad shape. But I've fixed worse." He opened his toolkit and got to work. Hours passed. The sun sank deeper into the horizon. The station grew colder and wind whispered through broken walls. Rowan's fingers became dirty with sand and oil as he repaired pipes, replaced wires, and sealed cracks with leftover metal patches. Every few minutes he looked back at the dragon to make sure it was still breathing. It was. The breaths were still weak but no longer silent. Finally, after a long struggle, the machine coughed to life. Lights flickered. Old pipes rattled. Rowan held his breath as he hit the main switch. Water, thin and rusty, began to run through the transparent tube. Rowan pumped it through the filters, cleaning it as much as he could. The system shook and hissed, but it worked. Clear water began to flow at last. He filled a larger container and carried it back to the pit. This time he walked faster. He felt urgency in his steps, like time suddenly mattered again after 100 years. He reached the dragon and poured the water slowly. The creature drank with more strength, its throat moving more clearly now. Its eyes opened wider, still weak but brighter. Rowan smiled gently. "There you go. Easy. There's more." He made several trips, each time bringing more water, each time seeing tiny changes. The dragon's scales seemed less pale. Its breathing gained a slow rhythm. Its eyes stayed open for longer. With every drink, the station felt less empty. Finally, on his 7th trip, Rowan climbed down again and set the container beside the dragon. As he reached out to tilt it, something happened that made him stop. The dragon lifted its head. Not fully, not strongly, but enough to meet him at eye level. Rowan felt a shock run through him. He stepped back, only for the dragon to lower its head gently, as if telling him not to be afraid. For the first time, Rowan spoke with a small smile. "You're welcome. I'll keep helping you. I promise." The dragon blinked slowly as if it understood. And under the cold desert night, a silent bond formed between a tired mechanic and a creature that had waited a century for a single drink, finally breaking its long, lonely thirst. The desert night grew colder, and the wind made soft whistles through the broken pipes of the station. Rowan stayed near the pit, sitting on a piece of old metal as he watched the dragon slowly move its head from side to side. The creature still looked weak, but something new was happening. Its eyes no longer stayed shut all the time. Now they watched him. They followed him. They were awake. Rowan felt strange inside. A few hours ago he had been scared to even step close to the pit. Now he felt a quiet connection forming, something he could not explain. The dragon was no longer just a giant creature lying in dust. It was alive, aware, and reacting to him. When he stood up to go fix another broken pipe, he noticed the dragon's claws shift slightly. It was small, almost like a reflex, but Rowan paused. "Are you watching me?" he asked softly. The dragon blinked once, slow and heavy. Rowan took it as a yes. He gave a small smile. "I'm not leaving. I'm just fixing the water system." He walked toward the pipes again. Behind him, the dragon gave a low rumble, not angry, not loud. It was more like a tired hum, as if it wanted him to know it understood. Rowan worked for a while, tightening joints and pushing out sand from the filters. But every few minutes he turned to check the pit. Each time the dragon's eyes met his. Not with fear. Not with hate. With attention. Rowan felt warmth spread through his chest. It was the first sign of trust. After an hour of repairs, he carried another container of clean water toward the pit. When he reached the edge, something else changed. The dragon lifted its head slightly before he even climbed down. Its wings twitched, slow, weak, but undeniably alive. Rowan knelt down. "Here," he said, his voice quiet and gentle. "You must be thirsty again." He poured the water carefully. The dragon drank with more strength than before. Its throat moved smoothly now. Drops slid down its chin and fell onto the dust, making tiny dark spots on the ground. When Rowan stepped back, the dragon moved its head toward him, not in a threatening way but like it was trying to get closer. Rowan froze for a moment, feeling his heart pound. He did not expect the creature to act this way so soon. He held out one hand slowly. "Easy. I'm not trying to hurt you." The dragon leaned forward a little. Its breath was warm but not burning. Rowan felt it brush across his fingers, like a tired exhale after a long sleep. He swallowed hard. For the first time he touched its scales. They were rough, cracked and dry, but warm. He gently pressed his palm against the dragon's cheek. The creature closed its eyes for a second, leaning into the touch. Rowan felt a deep shock of emotion. This was trust. Real trust. After a century of loneliness and pain, the dragon accepted a single human's hand. Rowan's voice came out as a whisper. "You're not alone anymore." The dragon opened its eyes again and looked directly at him. Rowan had repaired machines all his life, but he had never fixed something like this. Trust was not metal or wires. It was something deeper. He kept his hand on the dragon's cheek for a while. The creature stayed still, breathing softly, almost peacefully. But the moment was cut short when a sudden loud crack came from the far side of the station. Rowan jumped and turned. A broken metal panel had finally come loose and fallen onto the floor with a crash. The dragon reacted instantly. Its wings jerked, and it pushed itself up a little as if ready to defend itself. Dust exploded around it. It let out a deep, shaky growl, not strong but full of instinct. Rowan rushed forward. Hey, it's okay. It's just the metal. Nothing is attacking you." The dragon stared at him, its eyes wide. It looked confused, even scared. Rowan approached slowly and placed both hands where the creature could see them. "It's okay," he repeated softly. "Look at me. You're safe." The dragon's breathing slowed. Its wings lowered. Its tail, which had lifted slightly in fear, relaxed again. Rowan let out a breath of relief. "You've been alone too long," he said gently. "Every sound feels like danger, right?" The dragon blinked. Rowan sat down beside it again. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The desert wind blew softly across the station, but Rowan barely noticed. His focus stayed on the creature who had finally begun to trust him. After some time, the dragon did something unexpected. It lowered its head and rested its chin near Rowan's boots. Not touching him but close, like it wanted to stay near him. A quiet smile came to Rowan's lips. "I guess that means you want me to stay." The dragon gave a slow rumble, one that felt almost peaceful. Rowan stayed by its side through the rest of the night. He did not know what would happen tomorrow. He did not know who had left this dragon to suffer for 100 years. But he did know one thing for sure. The creature trusted him now. And Rowan would not break that trust. The next morning, soft light from the twin suns shone through the broken roof of the station. Dust floated in the air like tiny golden sparks. Rowan stretched his back and rubbed his tired eyes. He had slept sitting against the pit wall, with the dragon resting only a few steps away. It was the strangest and most peaceful night he had ever lived. The dragon lifted its head slowly, its eyes glowing faintly in the warm morning light. The glow was still weak, but it was brighter than yesterday. Rowan noticed something strange about it. The glow didn't stay still. It flickered in little patterns, almost like tiny shapes or symbols moving inside the eyes. He leaned forward. "Are you trying to say something?" The dragon blinked once, slow and deliberate. Rowan tilted his head, trying to understand. He had seen many machines that used blinking lights to send coded messages. The small changes in brightness, the rhythm, the timing, it all felt familiar. He stood up and took a closer look. The dragon's eyes glowed again, this time in a slow pulse, like a light breathing in and out. Rowan frowned gently. "You're not just waking up, are you?" You're communicating. He felt a small shiver run down his spine. He had heard legends that ancient alien dragons carried knowledge inside them, recorded as light patterns. But no one had ever confirmed it. Most dragons had died long ago. The few that survived never communicated with humans. Rowan crouched down with a soft smile. If you're showing me something, I'm listening. The dragon blinked again. This time the glow sharpened. It gathered more strength, more color. Blue light flickered inside the creature's pupils, swirling like tiny shining dust. The pattern moved in circles, then lines, then a repeating loop. Rowan's breath caught. This looks like a signal. He placed his hand on the warm scales beside the dragon's head. The creature did not pull away. Instead, it lowered its head slightly as if encouraging him to continue. Rowan took out his small scanner device. He wasn't sure if it could pick up something so old and organic, but he aimed it toward the dragon's eyes anyway. The screen jumped with sudden readings, irregular, messy, but definitely there. Unbelievable, Rowan whispered. This is a message. A real message. The glowing pattern grew stronger. Blue mixed with pale gold inside the dragon's eyes. The light shimmered like a hologram trapped behind glass. Rowan watched closely, trying to memorize the rhythm. Pulse, 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 pulse. Long glow. Sharp blink. He recognized it. It's a distress code, he breathed. An old one. Older than human space travel. The dragon growled softly, not a warning, not fear. It sounded more like confirmation. Rowan felt his heart tighten. You tried to call for help, but no one heard you. The creature lowered its gaze, almost as if ashamed or sad. Rowan shook his head. No, it's not your fault. The system here is dead. No signals could leave this place. He looked around at the broken station walls, the collapsed ceiling, the silent machines. Everything was too damaged to send or receive anything. The dragon must have tried for years, sending messages that disappeared into empty sand. But Rowan had heard it, not through machines but through the glow in its eyes. He placed his hand softly on the dragon's cheek. I hear you now. I understand. The glow pulsed again, but this time it changed. The blue light faded into a softer green. The pattern became slower, calmer. Rowan didn't need a scanner to understand this one. It was gratitude. He felt emotion rise in his throat. You're welcome, he whispered. Suddenly the dragon shifted its body. Dust rolled down as the creature pushed itself up on its front legs. The movement was weak but determined. Rowan stepped back in surprise. You're trying to stand? The dragon exhaled hard, focused, and pushed again. Its wings trembled. Its tail lifted from the sand for the first time. Rowan felt a thrill of excitement. You can do it. I'll help if you need. The dragon leaned against the pit wall and finally managed to raise its upper body. It stood tall enough now that its head almost reached Rowan's height. The glow in its eyes brightened, strong, alive, full of purpose. Then Rowan saw something new. A symbol flashed inside the glow. A circle. A line. A star-like shape. Rowan gasped. That's not just a message. That's a location. The dragon blinked once, confirming it. You want me to take you there? Rowan asked. The dragon lowered its head gently toward him, almost like a nod. Rowan felt a mix of fear, awe, and determination. He may have been only a mechanic, but now he had a mission. One hidden inside the eyes of a creature that had waited a century to be understood. He smiled softly. Then we'll go. Together. The dragon's eyes glowed brighter, stronger than ever, sending one final, clear message. Trust. And Rowan trusted it back. The morning light spread slowly across the desert station as Rowan packed the last of his tools. The dragon watched him from inside the pit, its eyes glowing softly with green and blue light. The patterns were slow now, calm, no longer filled with fear or pain. Rowan felt a strange warmth in his chest each time the dragon blinked. It was like the creature was speaking to him without words. He took a deep breath and looked around the broken station one last time. The cracked metal, the fallen beams, the silent machines. This place had once been a prison. A cage. A grave. But now it felt different. It felt like the beginning of something new. Rowan walked to the edge of the pit. All right, he said in a soft, steady voice. Let's get you out of here. The dragon lifted its head. It looked stronger today. Its wings didn't shake as much and its breathing was deeper. Rowan could tell that the water, the rest, and the trust had all helped it recover a little. He climbed down into the pit and placed his hand on its warm scales. I know you can stand, he whispered. Just take it slow. The dragon let out a low rumble, steady and confident. Then it pushed its massive body upward. Dust rolled off its back in thick clouds. The ground trembled under its claws. Rowan stepped back to give it space. With a deep exhale, the dragon finally stood fully on its legs for the first time in a century. Rowan's eyes widened with awe. "You did it." The dragon lifted its wings slightly. They were damaged but still beautiful, like ancient flags that had survived 1,000 storms. When the creature stretched them, sunlight flashed across the thin scale membranes, sending shimmering reflections across the walls. Rowan felt a wave of emotion hit him. The creature was alive again. Not fully healed, not fully strong, but alive with purpose. He gently placed his hand on its shoulder. "I think I understand your message now. That symbol, that location you showed me. It's where your people were last seen, isn't it?" The dragon blinked once, slow and heavy. "Affirmation." Rowan nodded. "Then we'll go find them. Or at least try." He climbed up out of the pit and motioned for the dragon to follow. It dug its claws into the wall and pulled itself upward. Small rocks broke off under its weight, but it kept climbing. When it finally reached the top, it let out a deep, tired growl of effort. Rowan placed a hand on its side. "You're doing great." The dragon moved closer, lowering its head until it touched Rowan's shoulder lightly, like a quiet thank you. Rowan smiled, feeling tears sting his eyes, but he quickly blinked them away. They walked slowly toward Rowan's small transport ship. The dragon's huge shadow stretched across the ground, covering him like a protective wing. When they reached the ship, Rowan frowned a little. "You're too big to fit," he admitted. The dragon blinked once, then lowered itself onto its belly, making a plate-sized piece of metal glow faintly with its eyes. Rowan stepped closer and realized it wasn't just glowing, it was heating. The dragon melted through the old metal like warm butter, shaping it carefully. It molded the metal into a long, curved support frame. Rowan stared. "You want me to attach that to the ship?" The dragon nodded with a small rumble. Rowan laughed softly. "All right. Let's build." Together, human and dragon worked through the day. Rowan welded the metal shape into place. The dragon used controlled heat from its throat, not fire but warm energy, to bend and shape metal when Rowan needed help. Little by little, they created a side platform strong enough for the dragon to rest on during flight. Finally, as the suns began to set, Rowan stepped back. "It's done. It's not perfect, but it should work." The dragon lifted itself onto the platform with a slow, careful movement. The ship tilted for a moment before stabilizing. Rowan climbed into the cockpit and looked over at the massive creature beside him. "You ready?" he asked. The dragon's eyes glowed softly again. The pattern pulsed slowly, trust, hope, trust, hope. Rowan smiled. He started the engines. Dust swirled under the ship as it lifted from the ground. The station, once silent and forgotten, shrank below them. The dragon watched it fade away, then turned its glowing eyes toward the horizon, toward the location it had carried inside its memories for 100 years. Rowan looked at the same horizon and whispered, "Let's go find your home." The dragon rumbled in agreement. Together they flew forward, one human mechanic and one ancient dragon, leaving behind a century of silence and moving toward a future filled with hope. And for the first time in a very long time, the dragon felt alive again. Because someone had finally listened. Someone had helped. Someone had restored its hope. That someone was a human.